Shokun! Welcome to Igor's Dojo, the training ground for honing your Japanese language skills. Today we will be practicing the usage of de and ni, the two versatile particles which are also very common in many grammar constructions. This video will also accommodate a new format to aid your process of practicing and understanding the particles, but more on that later on. Now, here is the overview of the particles that we will be covering in today's video. Alongside the definitions on the left, you can see the examples of their usage on the right that will be further expanded on in our examples in the following sections. So, once again, on the left you can see the examples of their usage of these particles, and on the right you can see the definition. Like I have said in the main video, the link to which I will be putting in a card on the screen and in the description below, de is mostly used in the displayed categories to mark the place of a certain action, or in other words, the place where the action of a certain verb is taking place, will take place, or has taken place. This is also tied to the transitive verbs themselves, or more specifically to the verbs which require to have an object and direct object to make any sense, such as cut, make, use, etc. The rest of de's usage, so to speak, is self-explanatory, and it marks the instruments as well as means of doing, performing something. It can also mark the reason for something by directly attaching it to the noun that functions as the said reason of a certain sentence. The particle ni, on the other hand, is easier to define and follow. It pinpoints exact places in both space and time to serve as a marker for destinations and to take part in the forming of an expression to show aim or purpose, all of which we will cover in the examples that follow. In this section, I would also like to mention another thing, the difference between the two particles to help further distinguish them and avoid any confusion. First, ni is used with verbs of states to show where a certain state exists, existed, or will exist. Second, the particle ni is also paired frequently with verbs iru and aru to show where something exists. And finally, the third point you need to take a note of is that de, unlike ni, is used to mark a location where a certain action takes, will take, or has taken place. So all of these three important differences are a key word, are a key point that you need to remember and master in order never to confuse these two particles. And, according to our tradition, here is the vocabulary overview for you to examine if there are any words that you do not understand or that you have forgotten. I have intentionally included the words we have already covered here for you to practice or to review from past lectures because they will, as always, appear in the coming sentences. So I will give you another moment or two to see if there are any words before moving on. Are you ready? Let's move on. Once again, here is the rules section for all of those that are new to Igor's Dojo and to the drill videos themselves. Now, in order to make the entire video stand alone, to make it a complete package for you to practice without being sidetracked by any unnecessary details, the video format today will feature a notable set of differences when compared to the previous ones. I strongly believe, however, that this format will be appropriate for my viewers and flexible enough to get my message across. This time you will be given a list of sentences with empty spaces where you should put the appropriate particle in order for the sentence to make sense. I will read the translation on the left, while on the right you will have the sentence that you need to work on, filling out the empty spaces with appropriate particles, and the solution to it will be presented in the following section. Now, how do I recommend going about doing this? Well, I will read the translations, and of course you can pause the video. Moreover, I recommend you to pause the video to give yourself sufficient time to solve all of these sentences before moving on to the solutions or the translations section of the video. Today we will have 3 drill sets. First will be with de, second with ni, and the combination will be our third. So once again, all you need to do in the sentences in the following drill sections is to fill out the empty spaces, to give them particles or to insert particles for those sentences to make any sense. You can pause the video to do this, and after you unpause the video, we will move on to our translations or our results section, where you will see if your sentence is correct or not. So I wish you luck, and we are moving on to our first drill set with de. And here is the first drill set. So as I have said, I will be reading the translation on the left, and I will be not mentioning anything on the right. Below the translations, you will see that there is a Romaji script available for you if you need one. The first sentence: I am repairing my motorbike in the garage. The second sentence: because of the rain, I will not drive my motorbike. The third sentence: I commute every day with a motorbike to my job. The fourth sentence: I am cutting the bread with a knife. The fifth sentence: Mr. Yoshida is drawing a picture in his apartment. And the sixth: because of the job, I did not see the movie. And with the sixth sentence, we have finished our first drill set. So you can pause the video here, or you can, let's see, listen, or you can also follow me on to the solutions section. And here are the results. Our first sentence: Shako de watashi no motorbike wo shuri shite imasu. Now, as we can see here, we have three particles. This time de is used to mark the location, and that is the garage. After that, we have no to establish the ownership between watashi and motorbike. And after that, we have o to mark the motorbike, in this case my motorbike, as the object of our transitive verb. So we have de, no, and o here. Our second sentence: Ame de watashi no motorbike wo unten shimasen. Once again, three particles. This time de does not mark the location, however it marks the reason for something, and that reason is the rain, and because of it we cannot drive our motorbike. Once again, no establishes the ownership, o establishes the object of our transitory verb. Our third sentence, now we see here a little bit more variety. Mainichi watashi wa motorbike de shigoto ni kayoimasu. As we can see here, y establishes the topic, and that is I. Then after that we have motorbike de, where de marks the means of transportation and ni marks the destination. In this case, it is the job. The job is our destination here. So we have wa, de, and ni. Once again, y is the topic, de marks the means of transportation, and ni marks the destination. Our fourth sentence: Watashi wa naifu de pan wo kitte imasu. Very simple. Once again, we see here the topic, then the instrument, and after that, the object. Nothing complicated here. It's a textbook example of the usage of these three particles. Yoshida-san wa kare no apaato de e o egaitemasu. Now we have here four particles this time, and all of them in perfect unison. Wa once again creates the topic of our sentence, and that is Yoshida-san. After that we have no to establish ownership, de to establish the location where he is, in this case, let's say, drawing, and after that wo establishes the object, in this case, what is Mr. Yoshida drawing. So once again, 4 particles: wa to establish the topic, no to establish ownership, de to establish the location, and o to establish the direct object. And the final sentence is 今日は仕事で映画を見ませんでした. Today, because of the job, I have not seen the movie. This time 3 particles: wa establishes the topic once again, we have de to establish the reason, and o to mark the direct object of our verb. So in short, everything we have seen here shows the primary uses of de as a marker for reason, for location, and for an instrument, so keep that in mind. And now we are moving on to our next drill set with ni. And here is our second drill set and our first sentence. I woke up at 6 o'clock. I woke up at 6 o'clock. Our second sentence. Mr. Tanaka is going to Nagoya on Thursday. Mr. Tanaka is going to Nagoya on Thursday. Third, today I am going to the arcade to play. Today I am going to the arcade to play. The company's parking lot is here. The company's parking lot is here. My family lives in Kyoto. My family lives in Kyoto. And the final sentence, tomorrow this train is going to Nagasaki. Tomorrow this train is going to Nagasaki. Once again, you can stop the video here. I recommend that you pause it briefly and give yourself enough time to solve all of these sentences, just to fill in the particles. So when you finish everything, when you finish all of the sentences presented here, I recommend you to resume the video where I will be moving on to the solutions section. So the time to pause the video is now. And here are the results of our second drill set with the particle ni. Watashi wa 6 時に起きました. I woke up at 6 o'clock. And once again, this is really simple. With wa, we have created the topic of our sentence, and with ni, we have pinpointed the exact point in time, and that is 6 o'clock in this sentence when we have woken up. So it is a textbook example of the primary use of these two particles, wa and ni. Our second sentence, Tanaka-san wa mokuyobi ni Nagoya e ikimasu. Once again, wa serves the same purpose as it has in the first sentence. After that, ni, once again, is showing a specific point in time. This time it is the day of the week, Thursday. And after that, with e, we have marked the destination of our movement, that is Nagoya. So once again, wa is the topic, ni marks the time, and e marks the destination. 今日はアーケードで遊びに行きます. Once again, wa is the topic, de shows the location where we will be having fun, and that is the arcade, and ni here is being used in the expression of aim or purpose, and that we are going to the arcade to play. Our fourth sentence, 会社の駐車場はここです. Once again, we see the usage, the textbook and their primary usage of no and wa. No to establish the ownership here between kaisha and chushajo, meaning the company's parking lot. Wa to create the topic out of them, and after that we have a brief description to further complete the sentence, meaning that the company's parking lot is here. And our fifth sentence, watashi no kazoku wa Kyoto ni sumimasu. And once again, no and wa fulfill the same purpose they have had in the previous sentence, but this time ni shows a certain state. It says practically that the state of living exists in this town, and that is Kyoto, meaning that whenever you are trying to express or you are expressing a state of existing, in this case you are always using ni, never de. And our final sentence, 明日この電車は長崎に行きます, meaning that this train tomorrow is going to Nagasaki. once again shows the topic that is kono densha, and it is marked with wa, and this time ni is showing the destination. Now, before we move on to our third drill set, I would like to summarize once again what is ni used for. Ni is used for primarily to show or to mark a specific point in space or time. After that, it is showed in the construction, meaning to show a certain aim of an action or a certain purpose of an action, and that is our third sentence. And after that, of course, to show where a certain state exists, as we have seen in the example with our family living in Kyoto. And also one more thing, I said a couple of times here that ni shows the destination, that ni marks the destination in our final, but also it can mark the destination in our second sentence when we have been talking about Nagoya. However, we would need to perform several modifications on the prior part of the sentence in order for this to be grammatically correct. So a small word of advice here. If you have already used up ni in the same clause of the sentence, you can safely use e, if you want, of course, and it will convey more or less the same message if you are relating something when discussing a certain destination. Because, for example, Nagoya e iku densha is the same as Nagoya ni iku densha. So, for the most part, these two particles can be interchanged without any problem. So, once again, ni is used to point spaces ni is used to pinpoint both certain points in space and time, to show purpose and allocation of a certain state. And now we will be moving on to our final drill set and the biggest challenge of this video for you. And here we are with our final drill set and the biggest challenge of this video. This time your task will be twofold. The first part of your task will be to fill out the empty spaces of the 4 sentences that will be presented here, and after that to translate them. And let's see these sentences. Suyobi empty, kaisha empty, atarashii keikaku empty, tsukurimasu. So your first task is to fill out the blank spaces here and then to translate them. Ashita, Goji, empty, Mori, empty, Okayama-san, empty, Undo shite imasu. Our third sentence. Sono Nagasaki, empty, Iku densha, empty, Tokyo, empty, Kojo, empty, tsukurimashita. And the fourth, Ie, empty, Kaete, Daigaku, empty, Kaita tegami, empty, Hako, empty, iremasu. So these 4 sentences are your task to take care of in this drill set, in our third drill set, before moving on. So the time to pause the video is now for you to practice them. While I will be now moving on to the results. And the results are: we will create a new project at the company on Wednesday. Here we have need to show a certain point in time, and that is Wednesday, de to show the location where the creation of our project will take place, and wo to show the object. So there is nothing complicated here, just the main usages of all of these 3 particles. Our second, tomorrow I will practice with Mr. Okayama in the woods. This time we are using ni in the same capacity to show a certain point in time, de to show the location, but this time we are adding to the mix, showing with whom we are going to practice in the woods. Our third sentence, that train bound for Nagasaki was made in a factory in Tokyo. Here we have 4 particles here. E is once again showing the goal of our verb or motion here, and that is iku of our, let's say it is showing the destination of that verb, and that is Nagasaki. After that we have wa to create a topic out of it, no to establish the ownership between Tokyo and the factory, while de fulfills its main purpose to show where a certain transitory verb has performed its action, and that is the factory in Tokyo. So once again, E is showing here the destination. After that, wa is performing its main function, and that is to mark the topic of our sentence. No is here used to establish ownership, and that to show where a certain action has taken place, and that is the transitory verb skuru, or in this case to construct, to build. And our fourth sentence: when I come back home, I will put the letter I have written at the university in the box. Ie ni kaete daigaku de kaita tegami o hako ni iremasu. Once again, we have four particles here. Ni is showing in both cases in this sentence a certain space, certain designated point in space, and in the first part it is the house, in the second it is the box. De is once again following the same pattern, showing where a certain action has taken place, and O is showing the object. So as you can see from all of these sentences are fairly complicated. They are featuring at least three particles, as you can see from these examples, and they are also creating a certain, let's say, harmony between them, modifying the relationships that exist between various words in a Japanese sentence. So I suggest you experiment with these sentences, use them as templates for your own practice. Otsukare-sama deshita, dear Shokun. I hope that you have enjoyed the new video format of the Dojo Drill videos, and that it has helped you in further mastering the two particles in question and in noticing the important synergy that the particles have in the Japanese sentences and how they, let's say, modify the relationships that exist between the words in a Japanese sentence. For the time being, the drill videos will be continued to finish the particle series first, thereby creating a comprehensive library of videos to answer all of your questions with the particle usage and their definitions. Once again, thank you for watching, dear Shokun, and I hope to see you in the dojo next time. Sayonara!